This is widely seen as the last weapon in the ECB armoury as it attempts to revive a flagging Eurozone economy. Quantitative easing involves creating new money to buy up bonds from governments and banks. In theory, that frees up money for them to cut taxes or to lend out to businesses and consumers. That should get people spending, and thus a virtuous cycle of growth should, in theory, take hold. The currency should also fall in value, which helps exporters whose products become cheaper in other currency zones. So, is there any evidence that it actually works?
Well, there's differences of opinion as to how it's worked and whether it's worked very effectively. Not so well in Japan, for example, but then on the other hand, the United Kingdom and the United States have had reasonable economic growth, and it's quite likely that the economic growth they had over recent years and the level of interest rates they had would not have been as good, as conducive to economic growth without the quantitative easing. So it has certainly helped.
So, what could happen here? Well, critics say it's too late and that QE is most effective when it's deployed without notice. The ECB version has been anticipated for some time now. There's also the argument that the policy does nothing more than make cheap funds available to investors who make a killing on the stock market, and the wealth effect goes no further than that.
David Murphy is with us now in studio. David, pick up on those two last points made by Brian there in his report. Potentially this is too little too late and the effect won't trickle down to the man and the woman in the street.
Well, in a way, the European Central Bank has no choice because they've already cut interest rates almost to zero. That hasn't worked. So what else can they do? This is the only thing left that they can do. And if this doesn't work, what they'll simply do is do more of this. Yes, that is a concern that it may not trickle down, but the idea is that by buying government bonds, the money will actually switch to the stock market. And that should actually give access to business, to more funds. If they've got access to more funds, they can invest more, invest in new projects, and that will stimulate employment. In reality, most people think it will have a beneficial effect, but exactly how beneficial it's going to be, we're going to have to wait and see. Do they need to do more of it, and will Germany allow that happen? It's already quite unhappy with what's happened so far. So will Mario Draghi be able to do more quantitative easing? I think that's another unanswered question. Clearly there's been a fairly big row at the boardroom of the central bank going on for some months. He's won thus far. We'll have to see what happens next.